So you started in your garage, huh? Like you
Absolutely.
started from the bottom of the bottom in your garage.
Yep. I mean, my wife and I actually moved from the West Coast, from Vancouver area, to that garage you see right there, which was a family house. Like, we moved across the country just to be able to have like an awesome house with a garage for cheap rent. And we were there for like 8 years. And that allowed me to start playing and to start, learning and figuring things out. And right around 2008, I got into CNC machining, super entry level. Like, I spent $500 on my first manual mill from Grizzly. And then I got a manual lathe too that was $950 or something. And there were plans out there to convert them to CNC. So I was like, of course, I'm going to do that. That's awesome. So I converted both the machines to CNC myself for as dirt cheap as possible. Like, I was into both of them for like a few $1,000s, and over a couple of years. And I just taught myself, and I learned, and I figured it out. And at the time, I wanted to make car parts for these old 1980s Volvos that I was super into. The problem with that is, they're a great cheap car and cheap to work on, easy to work on, but nobody has any money in that industry. So you can't make like a high dollar product and sell it to people with no money. That was me at the time, right? But it taught me CNC, it taught me tool paths, it taught me, the difference between high-speed steel end mills and carbide end mills. And that first $20 end mill that I bought was a lot of money.
Yeah.
But that progressed, and like 3-4 years of kind of floundering, not knowing what to make, but learning my skills as making, especially with CNC. It took me to about 2011 when a friend of mine introduced me to the custom knife world. And I was doing aluminum anodizing in my garage with the sulfuric acids and the chemicals and the lye and all the gross stuff. And as a side hustle, I was anodizing paintball guns with like cool splash patterns and everything, just trying to make a buck. And I figured in the end I'd make like $8 an hour because all the polishing work that went into it and everything. So it was almost no money, but it kept me busy and it taught me a lot of skills. And that led me to my friend Sean, who like brought a bunch of custom knives over, and he's like, dude, you have the skills to start making these. You got the tools right there. You got a CNC mill, CNC lathe. And I mean, I was a Boy Scout growing up. I've been a knife fan since I was 11. I've carried a knife in my pocket every single day of my life since I was 11 years old. Swiss Army knife, MacGyver back in the 90s. That was my jam. And
awesome.
And yeah, it all clicked when Sean came over and told me about the knives. And I tell a lot of people, like, I didn't sleep for the next few days. I just researched all the forums, all the everything, and 2 months later, I'm like scraping together the cheapest flight and the cheapest hotel to Vegas to the knife show there. And I got to rub elbows with like all the top knife makers, and really, going to that event, it's like going to any trade show and opening your mouth and actually meeting people. It's huge, transformative experience. Like it told me for sure that this is where I wanted to be. And I wanted to carve my own niche out of the industry. Knife making is typically very handmade, at the time, kind of closed industry. It's like, if you don't make it regular, then you're weird. But I wanted to come in and make it all CNC and like show the tool paths and, promote the everything. So I did. And from the beginning, you can go back to YouTube, 2011, I made videos about the process. I literally have Knife Making Tuesday 01 is let's make a knife.
That's awesome.
And like, it's there. The story's there, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Did you see that video that I put up in Switzerland with the kid that was like your biggest fan? Remember that?
Yeah, I did. So good.
I was visiting a trade school over there, and there's this kid. He's like 16, and he brings out this nice knife, and he's making it on the CNC machine and stuff, and he's just like, I'm going after Grimsmo. I'm like, Grimsmo too. I was like, oh, John, that's awesome. He was your biggest fan, man. It was so good. But I mean, think about that. He's in Switzerland. You're over here, and I love what you just said. You said you got into the game. You weren't making money, but you started tinkering and loving and getting into it and learning and stuff. And that's what happens in this trade. And that's a good word for everybody out there, because you have to have passion for what you do, for your workmanship. You got to love what you're doing. And even if you have an idea of what you want, it usually goes in a different direction. Because of the steps you've taken, doors have a way of opening, and then it's your customers that actually walk through. It's the ideas that walk through those doors that actually allow you to say, there's an opportunity. yes, I'm going to go in that direction or this direction. And
you got to be flexible when that happens at that point.
exactly.
Because the story you tell yourself is usually wrong. Like I told myself for years that I was like, I'm a car guy. I'm going to make car parts. And my interest for cars started to disappear, but I didn't realize that. So I was like, I'm still a car guy, but I'm actually just tinkering on these cheap CNC machines the whole time. And it took me like years to finally click and be like, no, I'm not a car guy anymore. I'm a manufacturer. I'm a machinist. But I felt like such a nobody in my garage doing absolutely nothing. Until I like started to step up and started to actually have some traction and some success and like a product that I could stand behind and show people. But I mean, back then I used to go to the trade shows and there's all these, multi-hundreds of thousands of dollars of CNC machines. And I'm like, I've got like $5,000 into my setup. I don't belong here. This is not for me. But I'd still go and I'd still talk to people and I'd learn and I'd, smile and make connections. And then year after year after year after year, they see me again and they're like, what's new? And I'm like, well, quite a bit.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So the question comes from Steiny. He's in our Facebook group. And he said, with all your years of experience, John, since you started in your garage, would you still start out with the pocket money and the Tormax, or would you go bigger, financing it and starting with a Haas or something bigger?
It's a question that I get a lot, actually, and it's always a tough question because there's so many variables involved, like how much money you've got to play with, if you can even get a loan. At the time, there's no way I could have even convinced my wife to get a Haas or anything like that. The Tormac was the bare like stretching to the stars to be able to get that Tormac and start the knife business. Basically, when we made a couple prototype knives, and then when we got the Tormac, we went full production on the Norseman knife, which was our first model, and that was it just all fell into place at that point. But it wasn't even on my radar to get something more expensive at that point. That's just where I came from. If somebody's, I don't know if they're sitting on some money or if they got some credit and they can lend it, there's a lot of options, and you obviously got to be super careful borrowing money, but we've leveraged money to be able to buy machines and lease them and loan them, and but only over time. If you dig in so much in the beginning when you don't know anything, it's risky. But it depends on how much passion and heart and determination you got. And if there's one thing I got more than anything, it's determination.
Yeah, I think that people don't really understand too. Machining is not an inexpensive trade to get into. Money. How would I say this? Yeah, you have a machine, you got coolant, you got vices, you got tools,
machine's like half of it.
Electricity, you got everything. So the machine is actually just a small part of what you need. So I love it. A lot of people look at me and they say, you got DMG Moore and you got Makino and you got all of these big machines, and why would you get a Tormac and actually teach on a Tormac? But I think it's actually brilliant, because when you got in and when I got in, I guess, Tormac was out there, but now I just see it as, man, instead of going to college, so many people can actually go grab a machine like this. Yeah. They can purchase it at a very reduced price, right? 15 years ago, the cheapest machine, when Haas went out to IMTS with their very first machine, they were trying to get it under $50,000, right? So the amount of people that could actually buy a machine like that, you had to be established.
Yeah.
So, but today you can actually get a machine for $5,000. You said $800, $1,200 for a Grizzly. You can actually go into a Tormac for $15,000. Yep. And people buy cars, right? You know what I mean? Yep. And the car is just, taking you places. This machine is teaching you a trade, so you can actually put it in your garage. You can learn on it, and as you learn and advance and watch John Grismo and the other John and me and other people, you can actually, just start learning the trade. And then as soon as the idea happens, or your friend or your cousin or your brother comes in and says, hey, Can you make this rim? Can you make this piece? Can you do this? That light can go off, and you can start a career. It's
absolutely crazy. So there's a couple ways to go through it. Either you get the machine and the skill at the same time, but then you're really floundering. You're like crazy busy trying to develop a product and learn the machine at the same time, and it's tough. I've done that with a couple things. Or kind of like I did too, you get the machines, you step up, you're learning the skill, you're learning the trade, and then just like you said, the idea hit, I was like 3-4 years into my CNC machining experience, even if it was on like super basic stuff. And then the idea hit, and I was like, okay, let's go. I'm ready. It still took years to really get traction, but like, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at right now. Yeah, so I mean, from the beginning there, that was 2011 was when I started knives, to now it's 2020. It's at 9 years. I mean, we've grown. We were in the garage. I think we made our first 500 knives on the Tormac on a relatively inexpensive, like, these are knives that were $500 to $1,000. We made 500 of them on that machine until we could justify the step up to not only getting a real shop moving out of the garage, but getting our DMG Mori Dura Vertical. This machine that's like $150,000 and uses Cat 40 and like orange vices and really expensive stuff. And that was a scary leap at that point. You're safe in the garage. Your expenses are almost nothing. You've got a machine that's paid for. You don't have staff or anything. It's just me and Eric. And it was a big step. Not only the rent, but the machine payment. You got many thousands of dollars extra per month that you got to come up with, and hopefully grow from there. So then we did that we were there for 5 years, I think, and we just, we grew and we hired more people, and then we just moved into our new shop now that we're sitting in right now. Got the current 5-axis, got 2 used HSK 40 machines, and that's the new shop right there.
Yeah.
And so happy to be here. This is 9,000 square feet across 2 buildings. So the front building that you see, the white one, is the finishing building, all the sanding, polishing, tumbling, grinding, sharpening, things like that, assembly. And then the back buildings are machine shops. So we got about 4,000 square feet of like beautifully epoxy coated, floor for machines.